They told you silence is weakness, that not responding means you've lost, that to be seen, you must speak. But the ancient ones, they knew better. Silence isn't emptiness, it is presence. Concentrated. The stillness of the soul that no storm can shake. You've been giving away your power. One explanation at a time. One chase, one beg, one desperate need to be understood. But here's the truth they never told you. Every time you explain yourself to someone who's already chosen not to understand, you drain your soul. You leak your sacred energy into a void. Not because you're weak, but because you forgot who you are. You don't need to speak to prove your worth. You don't need to convince those who cannot feel your depth. You don't need to beg someone to see you when your essence already shines. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it simply becomes undeniable. The ancient mystics, the wise Stoics, the sacred teachers, they mastered the art of silence not as a strategy, but as a sword. And now, so can you. But before you reclaim this power, you must understand the three energies that keep you trapped in noise. The fear of being forgotten, the illusion of control, the hunger for validation. We'll start with the first, the fear of being forgotten. Because it is this fear that makes you speak when you should be still. It makes you reach out when your soul is telling you to retreat. It makes you explain when the lesson was meant to be unspoken. And once you see the truth behind this fear, you will never chase again. In the next part, we step deeper into the sacred realm of detachment, where silence doesn't mean distance, it means elevation, where walking away becomes the loudest thing you'll ever say. Are you ready to become untouchable? Then let's go. Deeper. You've mistaken silence for absence, but silence is not the end of a conversation. It is the beginning of a new frequency. There's a reason your soul aches when you over-explain. It's not just exhaustion. It's sacred rebellion, a quiet uprising within you that says, no more. No more giving access to those who didn't earn it. No more bleeding truth to ears that do not listen. No more offering your essence like spare change to those who've only come to spend, not to see. Silence isn't rejection, it is remembering, a return to your throne, to the stillness where your real voice lives. Not the one filtered through fear, but the one etched in eternity. When you detach from the need to be heard, you begin to hear yourself, and in that hearing, your power returns. You were never meant to chase what is not aligned. What leaves you in silence was never yours to hold in noise. Think about it. Every time you sent a message just to get closure, was it clarity you received or deeper confusion? Every time you begged to be understood, did they suddenly awaken, or did you feel smaller afterward? Energy never lies, and neither does silence. The soul understands what the ego refuses to accept. You are not abandoned. You are being rerouted to a version of yourself that no longer needs external permission to feel whole. But to get there, you must pass through the fire of detachment. You must sit with the discomfort of no response. You must stop knocking on doors that your spirit already walked away from. Because the silence that follows rejection is not emptiness. It is elevation. And in that sacred space, you do not shrink. You expand. In the next part, we'll uncover the paradox of stillness. How your absence becomes more powerful than any presence you ever forced. And why those who misunderstood your silence eventually fear your return. You don't disappear. You rise. Silently. They thought your silence was surrender, but they were wrong. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the refinement of it. A compression of spirit so dense it becomes gravitational. You no longer need to explain yourself, because your absence speaks louder than your words ever could. You see, most people are addicted to being seen. They confuse visibility with value, so they perform. They post. They plead, all in the name of validation, while their soul quietly weeps. But when you pull your energy back, when you no longer show up just to prove your worth, the world feels the difference. Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects back everything others refused to see while you were speaking. The way they ignored your softness, the way they mistook your loyalty for desperation, the way they called your intuition too much until it vanished and took the light with it. The truth is, when you stop chasing, the ones who ran start remembering, not because of guilt, but because your energy once filled a void they didn't even know they had. And now that you're gone, that space echoes. That's the paradox. When you're too available, you're invisible. But the moment you go still, you become unforgettable. Silence is your statement. It says, I've seen enough. I've felt too much. I've said all I needed to. And now I let the emptiness speak for me. And it does. Louder than your longest paragraph. Sharper than your best argument. Deeper than your most passionate plea. Because what silence offers is unfiltered truth. In the next part, we enter the dimension of energetic sovereignty, where your inner peace is no longer negotiable, where you learn to protect your energy like a sacred flame, and never again apologize for doing so. Ready to stop leaking power? Then follow me, deeper. There is an invisible currency more valuable than time, more fragile than love, and more easily stolen than truth. That currency is your energy, not the surface-level enthusiasm you show in a crowd, but the deep, vibrating essence that powers your soul's mission, the inner flame you often dim just to make others comfortable. But here's the awakening. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone is equipped to hold your light without trying to control it, dim it, or feed off it. Every time you chase, you spend this energy. Every time you beg, you bankrupt your spirit. Every time you explain yourself to someone who has no intention of understanding, you give them the keys to a temple they'll never worship in. The Stoic, the awakened, the soul-bound one, does not speak for attention. They speak with intention, or not at all. Boundaries aren't walls. They're filters of frequency. They say, I honor my time. I protect my mind. I guard my peace. Your silence is not just a response. It's a ritual, a moment where you reclaim every piece of yourself you once gave away just to feel seen. And in that sacred silence, you begin to understand a higher truth. You don't owe anyone your energy. You don't owe access to every part of your being just because someone knocked politely. Access must now be earned through respect, through reciprocity, through resonance. You are no longer an open gate. You are a temple, and temples don't explain themselves to tourists. In the next part, we go deeper into the hidden psychology of silence. Why those who once ignored you now feel uneasy in your absence, and why your quiet withdrawal is the most karmic teacher they'll ever meet. Speak less, hold more, rise quietly. Let's go deeper. They didn't hear you when you spoke. They didn't see you when you showed up. They didn't value you when you stayed. But the moment you went silent, they felt something shift. That's not magic. That's the mirror effect of silence. You see, when you're constantly giving, explaining, proving, others stay blind to the value of your presence because they've never experienced your absence. But when you stop pouring, they're left to face their own emptiness, and that emptiness whispers a truth they were too distracted to hear before. They were giving me something sacred, and I never saw it. Your silence becomes their teacher, a teacher that does not speak, only reflects, and the reflection is sharp. They see the inconsistency of their actions. They feel the weight of the connection they once ignored. They begin to wonder why your energy no longer surrounds them, and that wondering is where growth begins. But here's the deeper truth. Your silence doesn't exist to punish them. It exists to free you, to liberate your energy from conversations that had no resonance. to unbind your heart from places it outgrew, to return your soul to itself. You no longer speak to be heard. You exist to be felt. And if they can't feel you in your stillness, they never truly received you in your words. Silence is justice, not vengeance, a recalibration of sacred exchange. And once it begins, there is no going back. In the next part, we go deeper into the metaphysical truth of energy disconnection, why your silence rewires the entire dynamic between souls, and how becoming unavailable doesn't create distance, it creates elevation. You're not fading, you're ascending. Not every disconnection is loud. Some vanishings happen without a sound. No fights, no final words, just silence. But behind that silence, a shift is happening. In the unseen, in the field of energy where all souls are entangled. When you stop responding, stop explaining, stop offering the same vibration to the same loop, you break the contract. The energetic contract that said, I will keep giving while you keep taking. I will keep showing up even when you've stopped seeing me. But now, you've gone still. And in that stillness, the field recalibrates. The energy between you collapses, resets, realigns. This is why people suddenly feel anxious when you stop talking, why they start to sense your absence even if they can't explain it. It's because your silence isn't just a lack of sound, it's the removal of Gao frequency. A vibration they had grown used to, a soul song they didn't even know they were dancing to, until it stopped. You didn't just leave the room, you left the frequency, and without your energy feeding the circuit, they are left with their own, raw, unresolved, unbalanced. Now they must face what you were cushioning, the truth they refused to feel, the growth they delayed, the mirror they always avoided. And you? You no longer play healer to those who refuse to heal. This is energetic sovereignty, not revenge, not cruelty, just pure alignment. The more silent you become, the more powerful your presence becomes in the unseen. And from this moment on, you don't just walk away, you dissolve, like mist from a realm they can no longer reach. In the next part, we'll explore the spiritual truth behind your silence as initiation, the moment where your silence stops being a reaction and becomes a rebirth. You're not just leaving, you're shedding. You thought you were just pulling back, that you were taking space or protecting your peace. But something much deeper was happening. You weren't just detaching from them. You were detaching from an older version of you. The one who tolerated too much, who apologized for existing too loudly, who needed permission to feel whole. And now, that version is fading. Your silence isn't just stillness, it's ceremony. A sacred passage between who you were and who you are becoming. You've entered the cocoon, not to disappear, but to transform. Because in this silence, you are listening again, not to others, not to the noise, but to your essence. That voice that was always there beneath the layers of conditioning, the quiet knowing that whispers, you don't need fixing, you need remembering. The silence is not punishing you. It is initiating you into your truth, into your clarity, into your next chapter. You are no longer explaining, you are embodying, no longer proving, you are becoming. This is where the soul takes the lead, where logic dissolves and intuition becomes command. And here's the paradox. The less you explain your transformation, the more undeniable it becomes. They'll see it in your eyes. They'll feel it in your presence. They'll sense it in your silence. Because silence is the sound of power gathering, of energy consolidating, of spirit preparing to rise. In the next part, we'll enter the temple of embodiment, where wisdom is no longer just understood, it's lived. And when you live your truth without defending it, you become unstoppable. You're not just growing, you're awakening. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when you no longer walk into rooms hoping to be seen. You walk in already knowing you are. You no longer speak to validate your truth. You live it, you breathe it, and it radiates off you like a quiet fire. Your silence has now become presence, and that presence, it changes everything. You don't chase energy, you attract it, not through manipulation, but through alignment. Because when your silence is rooted in power, it becomes a mirror, a compass, and a gravitational force. People don't know why they feel different around you. They just do. Some feel drawn, some feel exposed, some feel uncomfortable. That's the magic. Your energy doesn't ask to be received. It reveals and lets others decide if they're ready to see. You've stopped broadcasting your worth. Now your worth simply echoes in your gaze, in your stillness, in the way you no longer flinch at disconnection because you've already made peace with solitude. This is the untouchable version of you, not because you built walls, but because you've become so whole. There are no cracks left to manipulate. You are no longer moved by chaos because you move with consciousness. No longer triggered because you've become the observer. No longer pulled into noise because your silence is now your sanctuary. You're not trying to be strong, you are strong. And the most beautiful part, you didn't have to say a word.